Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I first of all want to say to all my friends, welcome, welcome. I've been talking for probably 10 minutes, didn't even realize that I hadn't pushed the button. I neglected to give a description for this video, but basically, I've started a radio show which is done in a studio, and today, unfortunately, the radio program, the studio was closed, which I wasn't aware of. But I just thought, what the heck, I'll go ahead and do my little program. I can repeat it on the radio show because I want my listeners on the radio show to also have this lecture. But I'm doing this mainly for my Facebook friends, and I hope that you will definitely join with me and share it and, pass it on to others. Basically, what I wanted to talk about today was how to maintain good habits after Ramadan. Ramadan is the month that Muslims fast from sunup to sundown. It means they don't eat or drink anything. They have other regulations. They basically won't have any relations with their spouse or their better half, and during the daytime, that is. And they try to avoid other things like, having a bad attitude, which of course is not easy, using bad language, trying to keep away from any bad habits that they might have, trying to just improve ourselves during that month. It's a month of reflection. It's a month of assessment. It's a month that we try to purify ourselves, purify our habits, purify our relationship between us and Allah, the one and only, and we try to gain a nearness to Allah during that 1 month. It lasts for 29 or 30 days. This year it lasted for 29 days, and we celebrated the end of it with the beginning of the next month on Sunday, and on that day we celebrated with having a congregational prayer of like thousands of people all together in the morning. And it's a tradition that we dress up, we try to have fun and enjoy things. And thank you, Sister Sabina. I see your little comment, so thank you so much. I appreciate it. Any suggestions, anything that you guys can tell me, just let me know. I'd like to improve this. I hope to make it a regular routine. I think some of you know that I've started to have a radio show. Just today the radio show was canceled for today. The owners of the radio station were actually out of town, which is fine. So I just thought, well, what the heck, I've already prepared something to talk about today, so I'll just come home and do it. And that's the reason I started late, because I had to come back home. But anyway, the topic is basically how to keep up our good habits, the things that we've done for the last 29 days, and how to maintain those even outside of the month of Ramadan. And I was just explaining for my non-Muslim watchers or listeners that Ramadan is the month of fasting for Muslims, and we basically do without food, water, for all the daylight hours. It was basically for about 17 hours a day this past Ramadan. And it varies, because Ramadan varies. Ramadan moves up, I guess, about 11 days every year. So this year it started towards the middle of May. It'll probably start more at the beginning of May next year and end maybe at the beginning of June, something like that. This year it ended actually, the last day was this past Saturday. And Sunday we had what's called Eid. Eid literally just means a happy celebration, and where we all go to Eid prayer, usually at the mosque. They also did it in Fair Park, and people who live in Dallas know what Fair Park is. And we get together as families, we celebrate, we give gifts, we visit our friends, we try to have good food. So it's like a day of joy and just happiness. And that kind of continues for a couple of days. Today's Tuesday, so it's the spirit of that is kind of going down. We're getting back into our normal routine, because Ramadan, our routine gets really messed up because we have to pray extra prayer. Or we don't have to, but generally everybody wants to pray extra prayers during the night. And so people would pray from like 10 p.m. to about midnight or a little later. And they also would even pray in the deep middle of the night around 3 a.m., 2 a.m. They also get up early, like around 3 or 4 a.m. to eat something before the fasting actually starts so that they won't be too hungry. So that is like traditions and routines that get added to our daily life only during this 1 month. But what I want to talk about is more about the spiritual side, where we try to be better during Ramadan. We try not to tell lies. We try to be kinder. We try to do more good deeds. Just avoid any kind of negativeness. And negativity is something that really I want to explore in other shows, because negativity affects us badly. Anytime we have negative thoughts, it's going to hurt us. And so I'm a very big advocate that we need to change, because I am an extremely negative person. And I think for many, many, many years, too many, I don't want to mention how many, I have had a problem of being negative, and I'm trying to fight that. And this year, I've changed so many of my habits. The number one thing, and a lot of people who are joining me, they're my workout mates. I don't know what to call them, my gym buddies. And they know for a fact that just making that change of deciding that you're going to get fit, you're going to eat better, you're going to have a daily routine which includes exercise, it changes you in more ways than just reducing your weight. It changes you mentally. It changes you so many different ways. So I'll have a program talking about that too one day. But today I just want to talk about maintaining our good habits after Ramadan. So once Ramadan is finished, the spirit of sacrifice seems a daunting task to uphold. The quintessence of these sacred teachings lies in sustaining those practices that one has adopted during the month of Ramadan. The heightened feeling of Ramadan's holiness is to continue the errands of caring for family and relatives by reaching to all in times of need. Never forego the zeal of spirituality, thirst for donating alms or giving money or whatever you're going to give, just helping others, and invigoration of the connection that has been built between you and Allah. Like these things in Ramadan, we make an extra effort to try our best to, do good whatever good deeds it is, giving donations, feeding poor people, going and visiting anybody who's sick, helping out anyone who's in need of anything. We look for those things during Ramadan, and we want to do it, and we make an extra effort to do those. But the reality is, those things don't end at Ramadan. I mean, they're there throughout the year, and we should be continuing to do as many good deeds as we can, which is possible for us. We should never overburden ourselves, and I don't agree to do that ever, but at least, whatever good deed we initiated during Ramadan, let's continue it outside of Ramadan. Let's keep on thinking and searching and looking for where we can do good things. Number one thing, and the easiest thing to do, is to change our behavior, to change our manner, to try to be that kind, nice, smiling person, to just greet others with an open heart and with caring inside of us. And by the way, whether they respond to us in a positive or negative way, that's not important. Because if you look at the prophets of God, every single one of them met people who didn't like them and who opposed them and who were actually open enemies to them. So we need to remember that and remind ourselves of that just because we are smiling, we shouldn't expect the other person to greet us with a smile. Just because we are being kind to them, we shouldn't expect them to treat us kindly. And we have to remind ourselves that our benefit for doing these actions rests with God, rests with Allah. Allah is going to be happy with us for what we are doing. We're not doing it to try to make friends or try to impress somebody. If that's our intention, then really that is what we'll get. We'll gain that only. But our true intention should be, again, to gain a nearness to Allah, to try to come closer to Allah, and to live our life like according to as Allah wants us to live our life. That's what we want, you know. And Ramadan, it's just easier to kind of do these extra good deeds. But I want to see us, and myself especially, to continue these good deeds outside of Ramadan throughout the year, no matter what's going on with us. Because this is the way, you know, that we can build up a true relationship with Allah mainly. It's not about trying to become popular and people going to love us or anything like that. That's not the important thing. The important thing is that we want to please Allah. We live our life in service, in worship of Allah, and we live our life in service to His creation. And you know, being good to, it's not just being good to people, being good to everything, even animals is part of our religion. And Muslims are kind of notorious that, you know, we don't seem to like animals, and that's really sad, you know, because animals are Allah's creation and how we treat them is very important. So whatever it is, I mean, we have to keep an open heart about that. It says, there's a hadith, which hadith means, you know, a saying of our Prophet Muhammad, and the most beloved of deeds to Allah are those that are continuous, even if they are few, or even if they are small, I think would be a better translation. You know, something that you do on a continuous basis, that you don't give it up. So during Ramadan, whatever it is that you this year started, you know, doing, let's keep it up. Whether it's praying extra prayers at night, let's keep it up. If you can't do, you know, as much as we do in Ramadan, that's fine. Do a smaller amount, but keep it up. Don't give it up, you know. If it is giving donations, maybe in Ramadan you gave a big donation. It's not necessary to give that big donation all the time. Give a small donation, but on a regular basis. That's the important thing. If it was that you volunteered somewhere and you gave your time, and maybe in Ramadan you were doing it on a weekly basis or on a every few days basis, but during the rest of the year, do it maybe monthly, or do it as, you know, whatever is easy for you. I'm not trying to say that you need to keep that vigorous routine that we do during Ramadan. No, but we should maintain whatever it is. Sorry about that. I had a phone call. I'm not sure who was calling me, but that kind of interrupted things. Let me just keep on reading this really nice article that I found. The sheer fear of losing motivation and momentum one has gained in the month of Ramadan makes it arguably more difficult to sustain the practices of Ramadan for the rest of the month. Because the month of Ramadan, there is a different environment, and I know that. I feel it myself. And to be honest with you, even before Eid, like the last few days of Ramadan, I could feel that things were, you know, it's kind of like when your family comes to visit you and they've come for 2 or 3 weeks, and then, or however long, 10 days. And so the anticipation of them coming, when they actually come, the day they arrive, the day they're there, you feel what, and you have so many ideas, and you're like, I want to take you here, I want to do this for you, I want to make this for you, I want to, you know, you feel so happy, you feel joy. But you know, when it comes near to the time they're going to leave, I mean, you know, they can't stay with you, and nobody wants their whole family to be living with them 24/7. But you still are going to feel really, really sad when they leave, and it's bittersweet. They come, you feel so happy, and while they're there, everything's going great. But as it comes closer to the time of them leaving, you start to feel a little bit kind of down. And it's the same thing with Ramadan, you know, towards the end of it, you know, things, you're still doing, you know, whatever you've been doing, but it has a different flavor. It has a different tone to it. I mean, it feels different. And even, you know, Eid day is like everybody's so happy. Everybody's got their new clothes. They're getting gifts. They're loving each other. They're enjoying a lot of things, and that's all great and good. But, you know, there's still like this emptiness inside of you because Ramadan is over. But hopefully, let's try to grab a hold of whatever we can of what we were feeling in Ramadan, and let's hold it as tight as we can and just work on that. You know, our brain and our mind is a very powerful instrument. And the more that we can just hold on to good thoughts and good ideas and just build on it, it will work, and Allah is there to help us. I always remember that no matter how difficult something might seem on the surface, Allah is there to help us every step of the way and every moment. So, don't think that, don't let the feeling of emptiness kind of overtake you. Let's think about the good things, grab a hold of those, and let's emphasize that and keep going. If you understand, or you take Ramadan like a training ground and mold yourself according to the commandments condoned by Allah, only then our hearts can be liberated from the despair of losing that true essence of Ramadan afterwards. The following are deeds of a Muslim that can be continued to sustain the spirit of Ramadan throughout the year. Number 1, formation of good habits. Before Ramadan, we are more focused about our health, wealth, and style. We're more focused actually about our daily life, isn't it? Daily life, it's important. Every single one of us, we have jobs we have to go to, we have duties we have to take care of. And that's important, and nobody is saying neglect it, no way. But in Ramadan, that's when we kind of pull away from those, the daily life. Even though we're still working, we're still cooking, we're still doing what we're doing, but we're not emphasizing it that much. We're focusing more about our spirituality during Ramadan. So in the rest of the year, again, yes, we're going to maintain all of our duties. Nobody is telling you don't do anything, just sit. No, you keep up with everything, but try to keep that spirit, that spirituality that you gained in Ramadan. Keep some of it. I know it's not going to be exactly the same, and it never will be, because Ramadan is it's a blessing, and it has something in it that no other time of the year has. But at least a little bit of it, if we can capture that and keep it into us, then hopefully it will, by the time next Ramadan comes, we're going to have even a bigger spirit. We're going to have even more things that we can improve ourselves on. So the significant thing after Ramadan is istiqamah, or to hold on to those good manners that we adopted in Ramadan. In a hadith, the value of good manners is described as, again, a hadith is the saying of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, nothing is weightier on the scale of good deeds than one's good manners. Like I said, during Ramadan, we don't lie, we won't gossip, we won't watch certain things on TV, certain shows. We won't do things during Ramadan that we ordinarily do outside of Ramadan. So let's again evaluate ourselves, think about it. One thing, I like to make lists, I like to write things down. So one thing that, I'm going to do is write down the things that I need to just continue, in Ramadan I avoided, so I'm going to continue avoiding that thing as much as possible. Now the thing is, Shaitan or Satan is our enemy, and also we are weak. We have a weakness, all of us, me too. And we might backslide. We might go back to some bad habits. But hey, that's okay. Pick yourself up, dust yourself off. It's a new day every single day. Every single day we wake up, Allah is saying, hey, I'm giving you an opportunity. Today is the day. You can start today and you can make it better. And even whatever you did yesterday, don't worry about it. It's gone. It's over with. We will ask for forgiveness. We will ask Allah to give us strength to avoid it. And you will see that it will become easier and easier and easier to stay away from those things which, really don't bring us any value, don't really help us in this life. So start from the minor possible habits, like staying away from all those practices and routines that you weren't doing in Ramadan, such as staying up late at night or using bad language, having a bad attitude, maybe looking down on others. That's an important thing. Whenever we look down on another person, that really reflects badly on us more than them. Even if that person might be a bad person, he or she might actually be a bad person, but the fact that we're holding that kind of feelings towards them affects us and makes us actually bad. So, let's try to avoid that. Let's try to leave and step out every single day with a smile on our face and with a joy in our hearts, and greet others with that. And even if we don't feel like it, you know, one thing that's in my gym on the wall is commitment means remaining loyal to whatever you're trying to do, even when that feeling leaves you, like even when you don't feel like to do it, but you still do it. That's what a real commitment is. And of course they're talking about working out, because definitely working out is not an easy thing. I'm not here to say, oh, it's so easy just to lose this weight and to keep up with the diet. And no, everything in this life has challenges, and there's always good and bad comes together. But you know, hopefully if we can just maintain ourselves and ask for God's help and remember our commitment and just do it, you know, whether it feels good or not, just do it. And that goes with our attitude. If we can smile, if we can be nice to people, you will see it will change you. It will benefit you a lot more than it benefits other people. Believe me. If we have negative feelings towards others, this hurts us. This hurts us more than the person we're having the negative feelings about. Because they probably don't even know or don't even care. But you know, for us, it will hurt us to our core. So we have to try to get rid of negative feelings no matter what it is. We have to learn to let live and forgive, you know, and just keep going. So once you're accustomed to it, to whatever habits that you're trying to change in yourself, then all these practices will seem like a piece of cake to observe even after the month of Ramadan. And that's so true. And I proved this to myself about my habits of being active and fit, because I've never been an active person in my life. I hate exercise. I hate, not now, but I did. Now I feel totally different about it. If I don't go exercise, my body starts going back to its old aches and pains, and then my mind starts being, you know, I can't do it. I want to do it. I want to sleep some more, you know. And so that's why sometimes we have to push ourselves. We have to kick ourselves in our butts. You know, hey, get up, do it. Once you get out, once you do it, it will benefit you. The same thing about attitudes. Being kind, being nice, having good words to say to people, it benefits us a lot more than the other people. But at the same time, it can benefit other people. There's a story about one person, and I can't remember where I read it, but he had woke up and he decided he was ready to end his life. He was going to go commit suicide, and he was walking on the street to a bridge which he was going to jump off of. And just while he was walking, this other person passed him, and just with a huge smile on his face, and said, "Good morning, how are you today? Isn't it a beautiful day outside?" And just in passing, he just made this comment. And this person who had decided that they were going to end their life that day, changed their mind. You know, and these are benefits that none of us can ever predict. You know, we don't know what effect we'll have on anyone else, you know. But just out of that simple goodness can come a much bigger goodness, you know, that we cannot even imagine. So something to think about. And this is a psychological fact, that carrying on certain habits become a part of one's routine if it has been practiced for a certain number of weeks. Henceforth, it wouldn't be strenuous or hard once you've got your hands on it. I mean, once you have made this a part of your routine and your life and your living, it becomes second nature, right? And it becomes something that if you don't do, you'll actually feel bad yourself. So the second point is keep up the practice of fasting. During the month of Ramadan, Muslims are fasting from sun up to sundown. And this is a way of purifying our bodies. And even medical science has agreed with that and said fasting routinely is something that, you know, many people can benefit from. So we should keep up that routine outside of Ramadan. Ramadan is the month where Allah commanded us we have to keep a fast, but we don't really have to do it the rest of the year. But our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he used to fast every Monday and Thursday. And especially during the month following Ramadan, which the name of it is Shawwal, that's the month we're in now, that he always especially fasted in Shawwal Mondays and Thursdays, because they say if you can maintain 6 days fasting of Shawwal, it's as if you fasted the whole year, the equivalent of the reward is as if you fasted the whole year. So it was very important to him that he would always fast on Mondays and Thursdays, especially in Shawwal. But he actually did it throughout the year, every Monday and Thursday. And he also fasted 3 days during every month, which was the days of 13th, 14th, and 15th. So if we can just try to maintain that, and you will see the health benefits. Because even now, as Muslims, whoever fasted for the month of Ramadan, I'm 100% sure that you also benefited from it health-wise. You start to feel light, because maybe you lost some weight, or maybe it was just water weight. Whatever it was, it still helped you. You start to realize that you don't need a lot of food to keep yourself going. That is an important lesson, because our society is built like our mothers taught us, clean your plate. There's children in China starving, how dare you leave anything on the plate? And our plates are like huge. I mean, they're almost a foot across, and that is way too much food. We do not need that amount of food. And during the past, because we used to have to grow our own food, number one, or chase it down and kill it and, process it to eat it, we couldn't eat a lot of food because there just wasn't a lot of food. But now we have this overabundance of so much food, and I believe the amount we eat is just way too much for us, and that's what's causing our obesity epidemic that we have here in the United States. So Ramadan is a month that hopefully taught us that, hey, you don't need all this food. You need to cut back. And once we've proven that, let's just continue on that. And let's keep up with trying to figure out what really is good food that benefits us, helps our body. Because food is fuel. Like, we need food. None of us can live without it. But we don't need the amount that we usually eat, number one. Number two, we don't need the types of foods that we are normally consuming. Processed food is not a good thing to eat. It's empty calories. It doesn't have much benefit to our bodies. So we need to think very hard about what we're putting into our bodies, because we only have one body and we need to take good care of it, right? Okay, so it says the third thing is patching up with prayers and charity. So in Ramadan, we added extra prayers into our routine, into our schedule. And we added a lot of extra prayers into that. I'm not saying we have to continue that, because it's really hard to pray for like 2 hours straight, the thing that we do during Ramadan, during the night. But if we can pray, if we can just keep up, even 1% of that 2 hours, which I'm not good at math, but maybe that'd be 10 minutes. If we can just take 10 minutes out of our schedule and pray extra prayers out of the ones that we already do, you will see a benefit for you and for everything. I mean, it will help you mentally. During that extra prayer you're praying, that's when you pour out your heart. And you tell Allah all your problems. If you give all of your problems to Allah, you will see that they will automatically be taken care of. You will see that things will get easier. It doesn't mean that you won't have problems, because this life is problems. There's a story I'll tell you, which I got out of one of the books I read, and I want to discuss it with you eventually, this book, because I love it. But there's a story that one man met another man on the street, and the second guy was you could tell from his face, he's like so stressed and so upset and so worried. So the one man greeted him and said, "How are you doing today?" And of course the other guy unloaded and just said, "My life is miserable. I have problems upon problems. I feel overwhelmed. I feel like I can't get out. I'm frustrated and I don't know what to do. I don't see any solutions. I don't see," and he just goes on and on and on about the stress he's having and the problems he's having. And the first man listened very patiently, because sometimes, people need to just let it out and just let somebody just listen. And so he did, and let him say whatever he said. And, the first man was like, he started making him feel bad, because when we see somebody in stress, when we see them going through hard times, of course, we're going to relate, number one, and we're going to really feel bad. So the first man started thinking in his head, how can I help this guy? I mean, what is it that I can say to him that will give him some relief? because when people do have problems, a lot of times there's nothing we can do to help other than just lend a shoulder for them to cry on, and that's not really very sufficient help. But the first guy came up with this idea, and he let the guy talk, and then when he got his turn, he said, the other day I was in this community of people, and thousands of people, and nobody had any problems whatsoever. They were all just fine. They were doing great. And then the other guy was like, really? Oh, I want to go there. I want to see those people, I want to see how they're doing. Where is that place? And he said, yeah, it's not too far from here. If you just go down this street, take a left, take a right, you'll find it. It's the cemetery. Because anybody who's in the cemetery, they have no more problems anymore. So, I mean, it's a kind of a joke, but this is the truth. If you have problems, that means you're alive. So at least be happy that you're alive, and any problem that we have, if we give it to God, if we give it to Allah, I guarantee you that it might not be solved, magically like that, but sorry about that. That was another phone call. So, anyway, so that story, I love that story. That's from one of my favorite books. And I believe it totally that, whatever we give to God and we let God take care of it, it will get taken care of on God's time, not on our time. This is a problem we have, that we want things, like we pray, oh God, give me patience and give it to me right now. I mean, this is the kind of attitude we have, and that's wrong. You have to pray and you have to be patient, because things will get resolved and settled according to God's time, not our time. And also the results are also with God. It's not with us. Whatever happens in our life, we are doing the effort and we are trying our best, but we are not going to bring the solution ourselves. It's going to come from God, and it's going to come as He wants it, not how we want it. So that plays into whether we are thankful or not, whether we have gratitude or not, whether we accept it or not. That this is what God wants for us, so let me be happy with it. And honestly, any of us living in this United States, we are in the best situation we can be in. There are people suffering. There are people having hardships. There are poor people. There are all of these things. But if you compare it to anybody else in the world, we are doing much, much better. So that's one of the things we should write in our thankful column, that we live in a wonderful, beautiful country. And God blessed us with it. And in order to make this country better, we need to be better people. We need to improve our behavior, our thinking, our manners. We need to look at how can we be of service in this life. What things we can do for others that are going to help them and us, So let's see. The fourth thing that we can do is continue the communal meals. In other words, during Ramadan, we make an extra effort as families and even as friends, even as communities, because whoever's Muslim and we're fasting this past Ramadan, in our mosques, in our masjid, they would gather and we would break our fast together, like hundreds of people together. And there's just no feeling of gathering with other people and sitting down and eating. The tradition of the past was that our family meals were always, we had family meals together. And father sat at the head of the table, mom on his side, and the kids. And during that meal, we spoke to one another. We talked about our day. We talked about the things going on in our life. And that helps to build up a good relationship with the family. And that's one of the major things that family therapists and what have you will recommend to any family that's having issues, that establish the family dinner. Establish the time that you spend together sharing meals and talking to each other. And that will mean that, at least for our young generation, they need to get rid of the cell phones and the iPads and whatever they have, because most of the young generation has that glued to them, attached to them, and their eyes are there. But when we have family dinners, when we have communal meals, we should make a rule. These things don't need to be there. And that goes for dads too, because dads are kind of glued to those things, because most of them, it's important because of their work and their jobs. But for 1 hour a day or half an hour a day, however long it might take, to finish a meal, they can turn that thing off and put it away. And tell whoever your friends, your workmate, work people, whatever, I'm having dinner. I'm not going to be disturbed for half an hour or until whatever time. Just let them know. And I don't think anybody is going to object to that, because it's important in today's world. Our time is going so quickly. Our children grow up before we know it. And if we don't build important bonds with them at the time they're living with us, once they leave us, which is bound to happen, that bond it's too late. I mean, we're not going to be able to have that bond anymore. The same thing goes for communities. If we want to establish a good community where people really know each other, really care about each other, we have to share meals together. We have to visit one another. We have to establish the time that we can get to know one another and just share things together. So establishing the communal meal, sitting together, sharing food, interacting with one another, it is so important. And also, including people that are less fortunate than ourselves, that maybe don't have families, that they're single moms. For Muslims, the people who are new converts, they have left. A lot of times their families reject them when they become Muslim, and they kick them out, and not all of them, but some of them, it happens. And just think about it, that suddenly overnight you lose your family, you lose your friends, what are you going to do? So we need to start including them into these gatherings, making a point to bring people into our gatherings that we wouldn't ordinarily have done. We did it during Ramadan, but we need to continue that throughout the year, inshallah. Inshallah, by the way, means God willing. Here's another hadith or saying of our Prophet, and this is related from Aisha radiallahu anha, who was his wife. Do good deeds properly, sincerely, and moderately, and remember that you shall enter paradise only through Allah's mercy. And also remember that the most beloved deed to Allah is that which is a regular and constant deed, even if it is something small or little. So whatever it is that we started doing in Ramadan, let's continue it, whatever it is. And all of us are on different journeys, but we're in it together. For each one of us, we have a different approach, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But we have to feel that we're in this together. We support one another, and we want to become better people. We want to become the best people that we can be. There's another saying of the Prophet Muhammad about describing Allah, God, that God is as you think of him. Like God says, I am as you think of me. So if you believe that God created everything around us, including ourselves, and our bodies are a miracle, and they are a miracle, and we look around us at this earth, at the universe, at the wondrous things we see around us, if you believe that there is a creator and that God is the creation of all of this, and not just the creator, he is the sustainer. He's the one who's making the sun rise every day exactly on time. He's the one who's bringing whatever is needed and maintains the balance in our atmosphere so that the oxygen will not become too much or too little. It's just the right amount for us to benefit from us. If you believe all that, and he's the one taking care of all that, then obviously he can take care of you too. And he can help you with whatever good deed that you want in your life. And actually it says in the Quran that Allah will help those who strive, those who work hard, those who do who do the good in this world, that Allah will help them. Also, he will help whoever wants anything. Like if you want more and more of this life, and you want more money, you want gold, you want a big house, he will help you to achieve it. But really, nobody stays in this life. We're all meant to die, and we're meant to leave this place. This place is temporary. Whatever we get here, it's not going to stay forever. But he has promised us that after our death, he will resurrect us, and he will give us a life that's everlasting. And that life, we will never die, and we will get whatever we want. So the real life is the next life, not this life. We are just here temporarily. And whatever we suffer here is temporary, and whatever we enjoy here is temporary. So we have to keep that in mind. And yes, we all need and want to live a good life here. But the best thing we can do here is to do good deeds. and to help others. This is really our purpose in life. And hopefully, I hope you've enjoyed my video. I see Sister Deli has shared it, and I appreciate that so much. This is my first time doing this. I'm hoping I'll continue doing it. I also have a radio program, which is broadcast from a site called Radio Ruposhi Bangla. It is done by Bangladeshi people, which my husband is Bangladeshi and I lived in Bangladesh and I speak Bengali. So I have two shows there. One is in English, which would be in this time slot from 3 to 5 p.m. on Tuesdays. The other one is in Bengali language. So anybody who knows a Bangladeshi, please let them know that we have that program, and that is every Thursday, 10 to 1 p.m. So ask them to join. Please spread the word. If you have any suggestions for me, if you have any ideas for topics or anything you'd like for me to discuss, I welcome it. You can just message me through Facebook or let me know. I also have an email called livingislamtoday@gmail.com. You can send me an email if you have any suggestions, any criticisms, whatever. Please go ahead and just send it to me. I don't have any issues. I hope that all of you who joined me benefited from whatever I said. Let me make this is a dua, a short prayer. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most beneficent, by the passing of time, surely all of humanity is at a loss, except for those who believe and do good deeds and encourage others to remain steadfast and to remain patient. So if you benefited, please share it with others. And I really enjoyed spending a little bit of time with you. I hope you enjoyed it too. May God bless each and every one of you and all of us, and just continue to give us the best, which He does all the time in this life, and hopefully give us the best for the next life too. May God bless you and reward you. I'll leave you with peace. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.